St. Louis Busch Memorial Stadium was the focal point of pro football last week because of a glamorous matchup between two of the most exciting teams in pro football. The explosive Baltimore Colts, winners of 10 of 12 and perched atop the AFC East, went against the never-say-die Cardiac Cardinals in a game St. Louis had to win to stay in the race for the playoffs. All year, St. Louis has been paced by its great forward wall, which allows Jim Hart more time to pass than any team in football. Last year, the Cardinals tied the NFL record for fewest sacks permitted. Unlike other offensive lines, the Cards do not labor in obscurity. For Tom Wolfman Banks, Mean Man Conrad Dobler, Roger Finney, Bob Young, and All-Pro Dan Deerdorf are better known than any offensive line since Vince Lombardi's Green Bay Packers. Led by Roger Carr's phenomenal 27 yards per catch, the Colts are, like the Cardinals, the #1 ranked offensive team in their conference. And while Baltimore's forward wall isn't as notorious as the Big Reds, David Taylor, Robert Pratt, Ken Mendenhall, Elmer Collette, and George Kuntz are a big reason Carr, Glenn Doughty, Raymond Chester, and the #1 ranked quarterback in football, Burt Jones, are constantly making headlines. Add to them Lydell Mitchell, the leading receiver in the NFL and the AFC's second-best runner, and the result is a power-laden attack, the equal of the Cardinals. So this game is a classic battle between two of the most exciting, explosive attacks in the entire National Football League. And while Baltimore badly wants to win, St. Louis must win to survive. Against Baltimore, the Cardinals at last have come to the end of a brutal stretch where they played San Francisco, Los Angeles, and both Washington and Dallas twice. For Cardinal fans expecting fireworks in this game with the Colts, their wait was not a long one. On the opening kickoff, number 27, 5'5" Howard Stevens, the Colts kick returner deluxe, burned his way straight up the middle of the field and had the football stripped from his grasp by Cardinal kicker Jim Bakken. The Cardinals had the first break of a big game, but the yards came hard due to some tough defense by number 72, Fred Cook, on Terry Metcalf. So on 3rd and 7, Hart went to the air, and as he would do all afternoon, got his first down. This was a key to this game. Whenever Hart was in trouble, he was able to hit on the crucial pass. This one to Ike Harris, who made a fingertip catch that brought St. Louis 19 yards closer to the Baltimore goal line. Harris, the tall second-year player from Iowa State, would play an important role on this bright Saturday afternoon. From the 5, Hart play fake, then hit a leaping J.V. Kane for the touchdown that put the Cardinals in the lead. St. Louis had drawn first blood quickly, but this promised to be an offensive game, and it was, for the Colts came right back. Lydell Mitchell, following number 64 David Taylor's block on the middle linebacker, picked up 12 yards on this run. In fact, Mitchell carried the ball 6 times out of the 7 plays of this series. The one time he didn't, the feared Jones to Carr combination clicked for a 30-yard gain. Only 4 yards from pay dirt, the call went to Mitchell twice. And the second time, the former Penn Stater dove into the end zone for the tying touchdown. The Cardinals' big weakness this season has been their special teams, especially on punts. It resulted in their close loss to the Cowboys the week before, and their performance today wasn't much of an improvement. Little Howard Stevens partially atoned for his earlier fumble with a fine return of Terry Joyce's punt. But here the vastly improved Cardinal defense reared its head. Number 73 tackle Mike Dawson and number 63 and John Zook are two of the reasons for the upgrade in defense. Dawson was the Cards' #1 draft pick, and Zook was obtained in a trade for a #1 next year. They forced a cold kick, but unfortunately the Cardinals' special teams let them down again. Baltimore recovered Terry Metcalf's fumble, but the Colts' outside man on coverage had gone downfield too soon, so the big break was negated. And now Jim Hart cranked up his passing arm again. Ike Harris had run a beautiful down and out, and the pass was perfect, but Cardinal blocking wasn't. A holding penalty wiped out the gain and moved St. Louis in retreat with their backs to the goal. Hart was forced to pass from his own end zone, and the Colt defense knew it. But the big red line gave him all the time in the world, and Hart's pass to J.V. Kane went for 19 yards. The Cardinals had converted another third down. The Big Red offense was really rolling now. Off a beautiful play fake that gave him extra time, Hart again hit Ike Harris, this time for 22 yards. The call next went to Metcalf, who, led by a block by number 35 Jim Otis, tore 27 yards to the Baltimore 26-yard line. Just when it appeared nothing could halt the Big Red onslaught, the defense caused a big break. Number 40 safety Bruce Laird jarred the ball loose from Jim Otis, and Jim Chiansky took the fumble on the first hop. The 9-year veteran from Syracuse returned the error 17 yards to the Baltimore 40. But on the very next play, the Colts gave the ball right back. This time it was number 56 linebacker Tim Carney who one-hopped it, and running like a 230-pound fullback brought it 16 yards to the Colt 41. Carney has been a big factor in the Cards season, for they have lost 3 middle linebackers this year. The way the fifth-year player from northern Michigan is performing, the regular job should be his next season. On the very first play after Carney's recovery, Jim Hart found Terry Metcalf isolated one-on-one with linebacker Stan White, and the mismatch resulted in a 41-yard touchdown that put St. Louis ahead again. It was an exciting finish to an action-packed first quarter that produced 21 points and a bevy of exciting plays. And if St. Louis reacted like they had already won the game, their premature enthusiasm could be excused. In a game they had to win, head coach Don Coryell had told his team they must get points on the boards early, for it's been the Cardinals' habit to get behind in the beginning, then finish fast with their typical heart-stopping heroics. Coryell would gladly swap the cardiac card trademark for a nice, easy, comfortable win. The Cardinals' 7-point advantage lasted less than a minute. Jim Bakken kicked off to tiny Howard Stevens, and Cardinal kick coverage drifted too far inside. The right side of Bush Memorial Stadium suddenly belonged to number 27. The minuscule one covered 83 yards, but the Colts could not fully capitalize. Early in period 2, with Baltimore inside the Cardinal 10, the St. Louis pass rush showed up unexpectedly in Burt Jones' pass pocket. The inspired Cardinal rush line denied Baltimore of a golden opportunity. The stymied Colts settled for a Tony Linhart chip shot. Linhart's 22-yarder narrowed the Cardinal lead. but the forfeited touchdown opportunity would return to haunt the Colts later in the day. The Cardinal attack, however, wasted no opportunities in this do-or-die contest. Jackie Smith's near breakaway kick return sustained St. Louis offensive momentum as Jim Hart challenged the suspect Colts secondary with pinpoint perfect aerials. J.V. Kane's over-the-shoulder 40-yard reception moved the Cardinals inside the Colt 10. St. Louis seemed to be moving the ball at will against one of the league's better defenses. And from the 4, the Cardinals' offensive surge rammed open a path to the end zone for fullback Steve Jones. Jim Hart and the Cardinal offense appeared unstoppable. The proud Colt defense appeared somewhat stunned, and St. Louis appeared on their way to a most important victory. But Burt Jones is capable of some extraordinary offensive feats. Nobody really knows how far he can throw the ball on a line, but this strike to Don McCauley arrived in a hurry. But while Jones' passes possessed their customary zip, Lydell Mitchell could not fathom St. Louis's defense. When Mitchell is running well, he makes the rest of the Colt offense go. Today, Lydell was going nowhere. But if the Cardinals planned to stop the Colts by containing Mitchell, the Colts' evolving plan to slow down the Cards was equally well conceived. First, Baltimore took away one of Jim Hart's favorite weapons, the swing pass. Then the Colts began out-dueling Deerdorf, Dobler and company on the offensive line, making life exceedingly difficult for fullback Jim Otis. With Otis neutralized inside, Baltimore riveted their attention on the Cardinals' game breaker, closing down the flats to the dangerous Mr. Metcalf. Forced to throw, even the Cardinals' fine offensive line couldn't completely control the famed sack pack as Big John Dutton descended upon Jim Hart. Baltimore's suddenly aroused defensive performance shifted the Cardinals' offense from high gear into reverse. All the while, Burt Jones hovered on the brink of a big play for the Colts. And midway through period 3, Jones uncorked a spiral to write home about. From the Cardinal 30, Jones hit tight end Raymond Chester in stride for an easy 6-pointer. Counting Jones' drop and the angle of the pattern, Burt's overhand strike traveled some 50 yards on a line. A replay reveals the superb timing between quarterback and receiver and a near indefensible pass. The 30-yard connection interrupted Baltimore's offensive lethargy. And with ample time remaining, Baltimore stood perched within striking distance. With the Colts threatening, Jim Hart turned to play action, and his nifty play fake allowed Pat Tilley to find room behind the linebackers. Football analysts claim that good pass protection and a strong passing attack are the ideal weapons to beat the Colts. With the Cardinal front suddenly impregnable, Jim Hart and Mel Gray began finding the seams in the Colts secondary as St. Louis moved to validate the theory. But the Cardinals' aerial success did not improve the outlook for their ground game. On a crucial third down play, Terry Metcalf failed to turn the corner. Thus, St. Louis opened period 4 with a 4th down in Colt territory, and Don Coryell gambled. A blitzing Stan White squelched the Cardinal drive. Needing a touchdown to win, Burt Jones came back throwing, and suddenly the pieces started falling together. Jones and number 35, Glenn Doughty, covered 43 yards on 2 plays, the second of which was a study in timing and concentration, as Jones again threw a near-perfect pass. But the dynamic duo did not get another chance. On 2nd and 9, the big red rush caught up with Mr. Jones, and the game's crushing blow was delivered. St. Louis corralled the bouncing ball. And with 7 minutes to play, Jim Hart launched the Cardinals on a 5-minute ball control drive that would consume valuable time while producing points. And the Cardinal front line gave Hart all the time he could possibly need. Hart's 16-yard completion to Ike Harris was one of only 3 passes thrown during this critical ball control possession. Most of the way, Hart handed the ball to Jim Otis, who pounded inside the Colt 10. From there, Hart threw his 3rd and final pass. Unfortunately for St. Louis, Steve Jones' fingers turned brittle on this 3rd down play. A touchdown virtually would have assured the Cardinals a victory. But with slightly more than 2 minutes remaining, the Cardinals settled for a Jim Bakken field goal. Somber St. Louis fans knew the Cardinals' 7-point lead could be erased with one flick of Burt Jones' right arm. But Baltimore's last-minute drive met with last-second disaster. Ken Reeves' timely interception halted a 35-yard Baltimore surge. And suddenly those apprehensive faces broadened into smiles as St. Louis put the wraps on a do-or-die victory. The Cardinals' gutsy triumph leaves them tied with the Washington Redskins with only 1 game left in the regular season. To make the playoffs, Don Coryell's Cardinals must beat the Giants next week, while the Redskins must lose to the Cowboys, a very distinct possibility. The Cardinal offensive line knew they had to do a job against the Colts, and they did it. Now they can only wait and hope that Dallas disposes of Washington. But without today's victory, it wouldn't have mattered.